Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the 2021 Geo-Institute Annual Business Meeting. You may notice that you are watching this business meeting from the comfort of your home or office and not at Geo-Congress, where we typically do this event. As you probably know, IFC is Geo-Congress this year. It will be a hybrid meeting, both in person and remote. We hope we see you among the attendees, no matter how you decide to attend. We decided it would be best to do this meeting remotely this year and live stream it through our YouTube channel. This way, new participants can attend, as well as those of you who enjoy attending the business meeting every year. So we'll be here for about an hour today. First, we have a State of the Institute presentation that we'll be giving via PowerPoint, President Jim Collin, and after that, there will be a question and answer session. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat box to the right of the window that you are watching this in at any time, and we will address them at the close of the presentation. So thanks again, everybody, for being with us today. And now I'll turn it over to this year's GI President, Jim Collin.
Thanks, Brad. I'm with you remote from South Central Pennsylvania today in a garage, so I apologize if there's some feedback or the audio is not clear. But it's a pleasure to be here today and present kind of an update of where we are, but I really want to focus on the questions and answers, the Q&A. I think that's so beneficial for us as the board members to understand your questions and issues, and hopefully it'll be beneficial for you. So I will spend some time with a presentation, but hope to spend more time with you all in a chat. And this is our first, I think it's our first virtual business meeting ever. We are contemplating, and I think we will perhaps continue this format. I think it allows many more members than the members that can only attend our conferences to be part of the business meeting. So we'll be looking for feedback, whether you think that's beneficial or not, as we decide how to move forward over the next several years. Great. All right. So we have with us today almost all of our board members. I think the only one missing is Sissy Nicolau, who's pre-committed to a very important meeting today, but we've got Bob Gilbert, Dominique, Stan Boyle, G. Han, our past president, Pat Fox, and Mark Balluz, all with us today. They will turn on their video when we get to the question and answer, and hopefully be able to field all of the questions that I won't be able to answer. And it's really the board. So I've been on the board for 6 years now. It's been a long run, but we have a great board. It's really a great group of people, and I hope that you all get a chance to interact with them today and hopefully at future conferences. And then our Geo-Institute staff has really come a long way. It's an amazing staff with Brad's leadership, but we've got Christina Scott, who's our technical manager. She's been on board for a couple of years now. And perhaps a lot of you know Tatiana, who is our digital person. She's kind of does all of that. And then Erin is, she worked with the board and she does the program coordination. She does all the paper review management, I believe. And we've got Lucy King, who's doing our conference management. And then we have Elizabeth, who does all sorts of administrative things for us and is part-time. So they're a great staff, and we really are glad we've got them all. I think we're running, I think, very smoothly as a cohesive unit. So every 4 or 5 years we do a strategic planning update, and so we're getting close to our next update. We did this planning in 2018, I think, under President Cord Wisman's leadership at that time, and this was really our updated vision and mission statement and then some areas of how we were going to achieve that. And I want to maybe step through those, but our vision will be to guide the geo-profession to new frontiers to better serve society. And the mission was that we will address the challenges of the geo-profession to enhance the value of geo-professionals. And the initiatives, I won't read those, but let's maybe look at those. So one is collaboration. So I think since I've been on the board, certainly, and probably for several years prior to that, there's been a strong emphasis on collaboration with other institutes, other organizations, and that is carried through over my 6-year tenure here, and it's very important for us. So we're doing lots of collaboration. Let's see. I think really, let's see. We've collaborated with the Structural Engineering Institute on the creep of what is defined in the codes as structural work and what is geostructural work, and we were able to strike an accord with the Structural Engineering Institute for that. That was very important, and we are collaborating with them on a task force to develop a standard for foundation design. Former President Billy Camp's chair of that. So we're doing lots of collaboration with other associations. We want to also be the leader in providing technical and career opportunities. And I think we really do that a lot through our 20 technical committees. We'll look at briefly at those committees for you. We've got great publications. We've got the journals. We've got our GeoStrata. It's been around for 25 years now. It's just doing great. Our conferences, our geotechnical special publications. This year we've got, I think, 3 special publications coming out from the Embankment and Dams Technical Committee, really doing a fabulous job there. And we really are trying to promote opportunities for networking and collaboration within and outside our community through our conferences, our communications efforts. And then also to promote new technologies. So in the last 4 years, we've really made a big push on 2 initiatives through collaboration with FHWA, and that's this IDEA program and GeoTech Tools. And we have now a task force, which I think I'll share a slide on, New Ideas, Innovations, Potential Technical Committee. It's a task force now that's come up with some really important things that we can focus on the future to broaden our impact on society. So the IDEA program was established 3 years ago, I believe. It was really a replacement of an existing program that FHWA had developed for evaluating new earth retaining systems and providing an evaluation report for DOTs to use to implement those technologies. It's been replaced with a more streamlined program called the IDEA program. And we've had, I think, great success with that so far. This year we had 3 webinars on the benefits of the IDEA program, partnering with FHWA to present those webinars. We have now completed 6 evaluations. We have 1 underway and 3 in the pipeline to be submitted in the not too distant future. So that's, I think, and that's a self-funding program where there's no expense to FHWA to do, or to the Geo-Institute nor FHWA to do that. So we're very happy with that. The other is our GeoTech Tools, which we took over management from FHWA 3 or 4 years ago now, and this is a online. It's on our website. Selection and guidance system for ground improvement technologies, and we're doing some updating with that I think I'll talk about here in another slide. But we see our vision is that this is the place where people come to get information on geotechnology, and we're hoping to make that happen here in the next decade for sure. Then our services, let's see. I think we're doing a great job with our services. I don't know that I really want to touch on any of these specifically, other than maybe our tremendous impact over the last year or two with what we have now available on YouTube. So I think Brad and the GI staff have done a tremendous job. The director's cut pieces, I think, are very special. You get a little peek into everybody's life, their private life, in addition to their engineering life. The Geostrata Extra. We've got now the Cross USA lecture on YouTube. We've got a piece on diversity and inclusion, and most recently the Geo Legends YouTube with my mentor Jim Mitchell at 91. It was a wonderful piece. So I hope everybody, if they haven't seen that, take some time to look at that. So the makeup of the Geo-Institute over the last 4 or 5 years, we've had a little bit of a decline in membership, and we're working to increase that, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But this just gives a breakdown. So predominantly we're the private engineering firms. That's where most of our membership is. We've got a nice portion of student members and faculty, academia, that make up the bulk of between the two of the Institute. As far as local activities, both the graduate student organization and the LIC, the local involvement chapter, have done great jobs over the last years. You can see that the number of grad student organizations has steadily inclined over the last decade. We're now at 40, and our local chapters have also increased. Now we're at 57. The local involvement committee is now headed by Jeremy Werner. He's done a great job. Dan Mertz was our past local involvement committee leader, and they've really done a great job of getting information to our local chapters, and we've seen tremendous growth there. So they do a lot of work for the GI, and we can't thank them enough. They, in addition to this, the student organizations, select the cross-country lecturer for each year. And this current year, Liz Smith is our lecturer, and I think she's going to be giving her first lecture this month. And we're really glad to have Silas Nichols with FHWA as our 21-22 Cross USA lecturer. And the student programs has grown so strong with the help of lots of our membership. The competitions that we have now, the GeoWall, the GeoPrediction, the GeoPoster, and the video are just amazing. And the students that we get to participate, I'm always amazed to see how bright and articulate these students are. And we typically get now 400 students at our congresses. I can remember back a decade ago when students really didn't participate in the Geo-Congresses, and when they started to come, you could see how much energy they brought to our conferences. It's really wonderful. We have a rare opportunity with our student participation fund to help support getting our students there, and I hope everybody will consider donating to that fund. Ed Kavazanjian, our former president, has committed $125,000 as matching funds for donations for the student participation fund, and so we really are hoping to capitalize on that so we can do more and more with our students. As far as conferences, this is just a plot of the attendance of conferences, and there's a lot here, but maybe the most important thing is that when we collaborate with other organizations, we tend to have a much larger impact. We get more people at our conferences, more people that probably are not familiar with the Geo-Institute. And so we will continue that collaboration. We've got IFSE this year, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of the other conferences that have been delayed that will, I think I'll have a slide on. But generally, conferences, when we collaborate, we are doing very well. And so we'd like to continue that. The board has, so we have, within our board, we have assigned to board members certain areas that they are, they report to these local committees, they assist these committees. So we have our, I won't go through this list, but you can see that every board member is involved with at least one or two of these committees that report to the board. Lots of important work there, and we'd be glad to answer any questions about any of these committees when we get to our Q&A. And then our technical committees, really, we've got 20, I think approximately 20 technical committees. I won't go through the list here. Several are very active. Some are active with GeoTech Tools and updates. The Embankments, Dams, and Slopes Committee has really done a lot in the last several years with these geotechnical, the GSPs, and so they're all doing a great job. We have a potentially new committee, which is Ideas and Innovations Committee, and Sissy with Dominiki and Anand have really worked on that, and they've got some exciting potential areas that we will look to get involved in the next several years. And so that committee, so this is what they've looked at as new and innovative areas where the GI should get involved. And so it's really a pretty cool list. So machine learning, reconnaissance methods and data collection, remote sensing, visualization, the whole 3D visualization tools that we've seen, 3D printing, extraterrestrial soil and new materials. So we look to see new opportunities for the GI in these areas in the near future. And then Bob Holtz is with us also today. Bob is in charge of the U.S. National Society for our international society. So he's our liaison there. Our members can opt to pay $20 as annual dues to help sustain that, and we encourage you to do that. And Bob is with us today, so if we have any questions on the international, he certainly will be able to answer those. Let's see. So COVID, so I'm remote from a garage, so that's new because of COVID. What have been some of the impacts of COVID on us? Well, our ISFOG conference, which was scheduled for 2020, has been now moved to 2022 as an in-person conference. We contemplated moving that to this year, but felt that with the still restrictions of travel and whatnot, that it really made sense to move that to 2022. And my vice chair, Bob Gilbert's in charge of that conference. We have a scour and erosion conference that was scheduled for this November. We're moving that to next October, and it will be a virtual event. And we get lots of international attendees from that, and so we thought that virtual was the right venue for that. All of our board meetings for the last year have been virtual, and we hope to this summer or this fall have our first in-person meeting. So let's maybe talk a little bit about finances. So with COVID, obviously things changed quite a bit this year. Our revenue was down some, but our expenses were really reduced quite a bit because of the travel restrictions. So even with I won't call it a penalty, but the ASCE had each of the institutes give back, if you will, part of the funding that we get from ASCE. Even with that, this year we ended up with a $92,000 net, and our reserves are up. And the trend on our reserves is it's continued to go up over the last several years. So we're very pleased about that. And our revenue, projected revenue for this year, you can see at the bottom of the page here. And again, our expenses have been reduced because of travel, or will be reduced, but we expect somewhere in the order of $100,000 net gain this year. So we feel comfortable about our finances. We're keeping a good close eye on them, but with leadership over the last couple of years, certainly Pat Fox had a big focus last year on our revenues, and we've done, I think, a good job of getting those back where we wanted them to be. With that, I will stop sharing my screen and open up to Brad to take over for questions and answers, and if maybe all our board can turn on their videos so we can all be present, that would be great.
Thanks, Jim. It was good. A quick little rundown of everything that's happening for us, especially in the super weird last year. We do have a question. It comes from Jean-Louis Briot. I think some of us have probably heard of this guy. And he is asking us, is the ceiling set by ASCE through the IOP on institute reserves helping or hurting the finances of the GI, and should it be removed?
I'll take the first shot at that, and then my board members, Pat, might want to add something. But I think right now the ceiling is not an issue. It's significantly above where we are with our reserves, so it's not something that we base decisions on how to create our budget annually based on that reserve. It might in the future, but right now it doesn't seem to be an issue. Pat, do you have anything you want to add to that, perhaps?
Thanks, Jim. You're exactly right. The ceiling's not an issue for us now. It has been in the past, obviously. Many of us remember. And Jean-Louis, if you can remove that cap, we would applaud you. Buy you a beer at the next Geo-Congress. So that certainly wouldn't hurt. But right now, it's not an issue. I think, in fact, our cap is at least twice above our reserves, right? Right, Brad? Something like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And part of that is because we've been spending more money. If our expenses go up, our reserve cap goes up.
Right.
While we're waiting for other questions to come in, I will throw you a softball, Jim. or anybody else that wants to take this. On that last slide, on the finances, we talked about some things that we've been doing differently recently. Do you want to talk about some of the changes that have happened at Geo-Congress the last few years and how we've been adapting our conferences to help, one, make them more profitable, but two, make them more attractive to all of our members?
That's a softball?
I have harder ones.
I'm going to have you. You're in charge of our conferences. You need to answer that. There's a softball. I'm lateraling back to you in the terms of.
I like that. I'm always prepared to talk. I hope everybody watching this has gotten the chance to experience a Geo-Congress in the past few years. I think we made some significant structural changes to the conference to do the things that I just mentioned, which is, one, make them more attractive to a broader swath of our membership, and to increase our revenues so that we can fund our other programs, like student programs, like our award programs, more easily. So we've increased the amount of content aimed at practitioners over the past few years by switching a lot of our technical sessions to panels and invited sessions, moving a lot of the technical presentations over to posters, but also at the same time, we've created these poster sessions that really, if anybody got a chance to go in Minneapolis, there was a lot of buzz there. There were a lot of people in that room, and this is not something that we had previously had at Geo-Congress. Think also increasing the size of the exhibit hall, bringing in clients, attracting federal, state, local government officials. Maybe officials is a stretch there. Employees. We'll go with employees. We hope that will further drive attendance from the practitioner side too, if those guys are there. In the past, we had struggled bringing those people in, and increased it by a factor of almost 10 over the last 3 years, which is a big deal. So I think for me, that would be the top of the list. I don't know if anybody else has anything they wanted to chime in with.
Brad, this is Stan. So the other aspect, of course, that we've been pushing for a few years is the increased activity at the local chapters of the GI in order to increase the participation there for those that are unable to attend the national conferences. And so that's been a big move and supported by the GI through our helping to get the cross USA lecture to the different chapters, and that seems to have been effective, and we've increased the number of local chapters tremendously in the last 5 years. It's been great, I think.
So I think what I'd like to add to that is that for those of you who are maybe active, and I'm talking to the viewers, not the board members, lest you think I'm scolding you, who haven't been to a regional event that we've put on and are maybe more involved at the national level, check out some of the regional conferences that we have going on. There are anywhere from 15 to 20 of these a year that GI chapters put on across the country. Ones that'll be coming up this year include the Central Pennsylvania Conference that's going to be in Hershey in September, the Sowers Symposium that the Atlanta chapter does every single year. In the spring, there are even more. The Minnesota Conference comes to mind. The DC chapter does an annual seminar. Seattle, Stan, I didn't want to overlook you guys, you and Bob in there. And you can really throw a dart at the map and find a local conference or a regional conference close to you. We got a shy group today. We do have one question that has come in. Is membership still open for GI committees? I have submitted 3 requests in the past few months and haven't heard back.
I guess I better take that. Yes, generally membership is open in the committees. The committees, you have to be a GI member to be on a committee, but generally you submit those, and that membership is submitted to the GI board. So there's lots of opportunity on the committees. I'm surprised that individual hasn't gotten a response back, but perhaps they should send an email to me so that I can find out why we aren't responding to that.
And we'll certainly look into that. We can put the link in the chat too for everybody else watching. There's a form on the GI website to apply for committee membership, and this is for our technical committees. We have 20 of those, and Jim ran through the list in the presentation earlier, but we are always looking for new members, and we're happy to have everybody.
And I think not all committees, but many of the committees have their own web page, so you can go directly to their web page and communicate with them and fill out an application also, I believe.
Yep, and through our website actually, right? The page link through our website,
Correct.
Where you can also sign up for updates. But yeah, email Jim and CC me. I'm the liaison on the board for the technical committees, and I'm happy to look into what's going on and help facilitate communication with the committee chair and members.
We have another question that has come in from Jean-Louis. And that is, how do we make sure that our student members transition to professional membership upon graduation? Right now, our transition rate is only 17%.
Well, I would throw that back to Jean-Louis as the president of ASCE. I mean, that's a issue that we're trying to deal with for all the institutes, right? To try to maintain those. And there's been lots of committee work through ASCE on how to do that. It's difficult. We're part of our student participation funding, I think, is to capture those students early on, and then it's up to us to provide them the collaboration and the value as young members to keep them on.
So we have another question. This one comes from Jim Withiam, of course, the chief editor of GeoStrata, our fine magazine. If you have not checked it out recently, should go to the Geo-Institute website and do that. He is asking, what is the status of contributions to the Student Participation Fund? I can do that briefly here, and then Jim, I'll kick it over to you so you can give an inspirational message to everyone about contributing to that fund. Through March 31st, we were at about $40,000 for the fiscal year. As Jim mentioned in the presentation, Ed Kavazanjian gave $125,000 to GI student programs at the beginning of this fiscal year, but it's matching money, so we need to raise $125,000 to be able to get that full donation. You should have gotten an email today, actually, from the ASCE Foundation encouraging you to give to the Student Participation Fund. And there are a few different challenges that we're putting on. Nick Hudema, the chair of the Technical Coordination Council a few months ago now, put forth a challenge to all our technical committees, urging them to meet or beat his $500 contribution. Jim Collin is putting forth a challenge as well. And Jim, do you want to tell everybody about that?
Oh, sure. There's so much tremendous value with these young kids, getting them to our conferences. My challenge is I've committed $1,000 to the Student Participation Fund, and I challenge all past GI presidents to match or beat my challenge. Cord, Alan, Joseph, Beth, all of the great presidents in the past. Jean-Louis, I think, was the past president. There's a challenge, buddy. So yes, there's my challenge.
Not just challenging, but naming names.
Well, sometimes it's appropriate.
And if you have any questions about the Student Participation Fund, you, of course, can reach out to any of us on staff, and we're more than happy to help you out with that. The next question comes again from Jean-Louis, and this is a broad one. How is the journal doing, and is open access a threat?
Pat, maybe
I guess
you
I could step in on that one. Yeah. Our journals, and this is not news certainly to this group, our journals are really thriving and doing wonderfully. I was a chief editor years ago. Rodrigo Salgado is chief editor now. Jihan is on the board amongst many others. Open access is a challenge. I don't know if I'd call it a threat. In fact, the Technical Publication Committee, it was less than a week ago, or maybe about a week ago, right? We met, and that was a big topic for discussion that day. And it is a challenge because the business model is set up where authors don't pay fees, and libraries and individuals pay fees to receive the publication. Making it open access turns that completely upside down, and so it's not entirely clear how we can grapple with that. And there's no really easy way out, because publishing raw manuscripts, there's changes at the page proof stage, for instance, and so it's not always the same. The raw manuscript and the final printed version aren't always the same. So I wouldn't call it a threat, but it is a challenge facing us. Good question. I guess to wrap that up, the most important thing about the journals and all our publications is that top authors worldwide are seeking out ASCE and especially the geotechnical publications to publish their top work. As long as we, and I've said this as long as I've been on the board and associated with the journal, as long as we continue to keep that quality and those standards high so that the best authors are sending their best work to us most of the time, then we're going to be okay.
It's great. Thank you, Pat. That appears to be the end of the questions. Jim, I don't know if you had anything else that you wanted anybody else to cover while we've got this forum today.
Well, let's see. Bob, I don't want to catch you off guard, but maybe licensure. I didn't really go into that much. Could you maybe just talk a little bit about what we've had with licensure, the Alabama thing recently? And I think it's important for all our members to kind of know that we want to be notified when we have issues, and we have great success with turning the tide on that. So, Bob, if you maybe could add something to that.
Yeah, I can. I'd be happy to. So we developed the Oak Brook Accord with the Structural Engineering Institute, and the goal of that is to make sure that in supporting their desire to have specialty licensure, we're keeping them in their lane, and that's not impacting adversely the geotechnical engineers who are practicing in areas that are related to structural engineering. So we've a couple times now implemented those accords in the real world. The first was in Georgia, and in that case, the state of Georgia was trying to implement structural engineering licensure. They defined the situation in which you would need an SE license, and it unfortunately inadvertently broadly included lots of geotechnical engineering. So we wrote a letter, we went and testified, and we were ultimately unsuccessful in that case. But that was our first one. Our second one was Oklahoma, and we were successful. We got the PE board to specifically call out that their requirement for structural engineering licensure should not include geostructures, things that we're involved with as geotechnical engineers. So at that point, we were batting 500, and then in Alabama this spring, it came up again, and again we were successful. They changed the way they described the need, and really they're not at a licensure issue yet. They're just defining structural engineering, presumably because at some point they're going to require a structural engineering license. And the good news is we were able to change their definition so that it's very clearly creating a boundary for structural engineers that doesn't impede on geotechnical engineering. So we're 2 for 3, which is pretty good in baseball. And anyone who knows in any of your states where this is an issue, where the structural engineers are getting out of their lane, call us, email us, let Brad know, and we'll do what we can to try to help.
Thanks, Bob. Maybe the other thing we could talk about for a sec, Brad, is GeoTech Tools and kind of our special projects and what the technical committees are now doing. So over the last couple of years, we've really changed our funding for technical committees, and we've focused, Dominique's been great, and we've focused on that maybe will have an impact. And so we're now each year soliciting special projects, and we're funding somewhere in the order of $10,000 to $15,000 to assist those committees in getting those initiatives done. Some of the things that we're currently working on, or the committees are some additional work that's escaping me, but
that was COVID was a quote-unquote opportunity for us because of the remote need of teaching members of the committee. We were able to also translate some of that material into educational videos and tools for our members.
Thanks, Dominique.
So we do have another question that has come in, and it is a Bob Holtz special. We have a Canadian member asking, he's a Canadian, a GI member, and an ISSMGE subscriber. Is he allowed representation with ISSMGE? This person was told that they have to go to CGS to do this.
Well, that's been, thanks, Brad. That's a very important question, because we have about 10% of our USNS members are also members of foreign geotechnical groups. And so we've been hesitant to appoint them to technical committees unless they are really familiar with U.S. practice. I don't care if you're talking about deep foundations or slopes and embankments or whatever it is. I feel, and the International Activities Council has gone with me on this idea several times, that unless we have no person in the U.S. that's interested in, for example, lateritic soils, and we haven't had, then we have accepted to appoint a gentleman from France to be on the to represent us on that committee. Special. Right now it escapes me what that name of that TC is of the International Society. But other than that, we've really tried to encourage our foreign members to go to their own geotechnical societies. And Canada is just as able as we are to appoint their members to technical committees, and so it's kind of beyond me why that's not done more. That's been kind of our policy. We've talked about this. I'm sympathetic, but I feel a little funny doing that and recommending to the International Activities Council that we do that. If they are not well versed in U.S. practice in that particular technical area. Now, if members of the board would like to discuss this further, we can easily do that. That's to appoint somebody to be a member of the International Society technical committees takes me a few minutes to get on their internet and appoint somebody and approve them as a USNS representative. The couple of the cases I've been asked, I felt uncomfortable, and the International Activities Council has backed me up on that. But you're the boss, ladies and gentlemen, and you can instruct us to do however you think would be best. So I hope that answers the question from that gentleman. Unless CGS has said some reason, that's the only thing that would scare me. And as far as I know, that particular person has not gone to the CGS and asked if he can be appointed.
We have another question that has come in. Will the GI be pursuing the next ISSMGE International Conference?
Well, I don't know if you want to let me take that. We have a small task group that the Board of Governors has appointed, including Dominiki and Jihan and Mark Baluz and myself, and we're going to just discuss that a little bit further this coming Thursday. So we hope to come up with some a roadmap or a blueprint on how we go about this. There are a lot of questions involved. And if anyone is a GI member that would like to head this effort up, please let us know. We would be happy to. We need a champion. We need somebody to take a leadership position on that conference. Before we even consider, yes, we'll go for it, we need to have our position very clear. We need to know what the boundary conditions are. We need to know a lot of the details. And that's up to us, the U.S. National Society. We are the U.S. National Society for the ISSMGE. And so this is an important consideration as a member society, is whether you host one of the big international conferences. It's not a walk in the park. It's an enormous amount of work. So we need to think very carefully on what our route is to do that. But please, if there are anybody listening, GI members that would like to be involved in this, let us know, please.
So you would think by
Thanks, Bob.
now I would know that if you say there are no more questions, the questions will immediately start coming back in. Now, again, there are no additional questions. So, Jim, I don't know if there are any additional topics you wanted to cover today.
Jim, Brad, can I say something? To call the nomination for the awards? Okay, I'm on, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to take the opportunity to call the nominations for the ASCE Achievement Awards. Next deadline is June 1st. There are 3 major awards. One is the PAC Award, one is the Seat Medal. The next one is the Tazaki Award. I think there's maybe some confusion among people regarding the Tazaki Award and the Tazaki Lecture. But this is the Tazaki Award. Tazaki Lecture is selected by GI Board, but Tazaki Award is nominated. To nominate an award, you can work with the committee, TC committee, or you can form a group by yourself. Basically, you need to write the nomination letter and with the reference letter, submit to GI for consideration. So I think GI has sent out the email regarding those 3 awards. Please take a look, and or you can go to the GI website to see what is a requirement for those documentation for nominations. So really, please consider understanding scholars and engineering, geotech engineering get recognized through those awards.
Thank you, G. Brad, I think that's a wrap. If we want to,
well, that's
close
great.
out our.
Absolutely. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us for this unusual annual business meeting. Hopefully, the next time we do one of these, you'll be seeing us in person in Charlotte at the 2022 Geo-Congress next March. Just a reminder, we have a lot of other great content on this YouTube channel. Jim mentioned it in his presentation. Go check it out while you're here. All you have to do is click on the little logo below the window you're watching this in, and it'll take you to our channel homepage where you can choose one of about, I don't know, 630,000 different videos that we've posted in the last year or so. It's starting to feel that way anyway. You can subscribe and we'll send you a notification every time we post a new video to the channel, which is quite frequently. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us today, and we hope we do see you in person soon at a GI event or at a virtual event that's coming up too. Always check geo-institute.org for the latest and the greatest. Thank you, everybody, for being with us today.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody.